Hi, so welcome to this 3ds Max tutorial, and in this tutorial here we're going to be creating a chair similar to the chair we made earlier, but this time it's going to be made just using one standard primitive. Let's have a look at the one we made earlier. So here's the chair, and this you can see here is made basically using boxes and just putting them in the right places. If I just reset that scene now, and remember it's Alt W to select the window you're on. In this window here, what we're going to do is we're going to create a box. We're going to turn it to a editable polygon from standard primitive. Then we're just going to create certain polygons that are going to be dragged out and extruded and used to create the legs and then the back of the chair, and then we're going to finish it off by turbo smoothing it and just making it look a lot more comfier than the chair we made earlier. So the first step is to draw a box from our standard primitive. Remember, it doesn't matter about the size, we're going to edit that now. Just in case you are working with your side panel like this, drag it out just so you can give yourselves room for extra options that we're going to need later on. So I've got 2 space here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the length of this to about 600 millimeters, which is 60 centimeters. And the width to 600, and I'm going to change the height to about 40. So that's going to be the base of the chair, but it's also going to turn out to be our legs and also the back of the chair as well. Then by right clicking on it, I'm going to go down to the bottom, convert to, and an editable poly. Now an editable poly gives us many more options to create much more complex shapes. For instance, I can grab the vertex, which are the corners, and you can grab a corner and you could start to manipulate that and drag it out that way, or I could select both of those. I could select both of those and drag them both up that way. In more complex shapes you can sculpt and mold it. The edges, so these are the edges here. Make sure that you have as well, you can use F3 to see that a bit clearer. You can use F3 again to go back to the view, or you can use F4 to turn both on, so you have edge facing and the realistic view there, and there you go. So you can just find out which setting suits you. I personally like realistic with edge facing for quite simple shapes, but obviously if it's quite a complex shape, sometimes you need to see what's going on behind it and you need to use the wireframe view. So from here I can grab one of these edges and drag it up and manipulate it in the same way you can with the vertex. I could grab a couple of these maybe here and bring it up that way. The border will allow you to select a whole border of something, but we haven't actually got a border on this yet. And the polygon allows you to select these edges here. Now if you're like me, I like to see that this is completely shaded in, know which one I'm selecting. If you press F2, you'll notice that it highlights the edge you're selecting, and I much prefer that. I sometimes turn it off by accident because I'm pressing F3 and F4 quite a lot and I accidentally clip it or something. But F2 will give you that option there. And the final one is the elements, so we can select the entire element. You'll notice now we've got both these open. Some of them are shared, but if I change to vertex, you get different options for like edit vertices, and then you can edit edges and edit borders, edit polygons, and there's other options here which are new just to polygons, and here we can edit the element as well. So we get a whole different range of options available here for us to use. And in fact we're going to use some of those now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit some edges first of all, and I want to show you something here. Even though we can't see, and I'm just going to hold down Alt in the middle mouse wheel and bring it around here, even though we can't see those back 2 edges, if I drag and select over that, you'll notice that the back edges that we can't see have been selected as well, and that's important to remember if you're editing an object, because you don't want to edit the back in case you don't see it, unless you want to, that is. So you can have the option here of ignore back facing, and with that selected, from here if I select that, it will only select the ones that I can see, and you'll notice here this one I couldn't see, it did not select. However, for the moment I do want to select that, and we're going to select this whole edge here. So I'm going to select, first of all as an example, I'll select these 2 actually, and what we're going to do is we're just going to connect these. So if I press connect, you'll see it connects those two with a line in between that can then be moved and manipulated. And then if I select off it, I'll be able to select those two as two new polygons. So that's how you start making more complex shapes out of the basic standard primitives. However, what we want to do, and this will become clearer in a bit, is make sure I've got the edges selected, is I'm going to connect, and I'm going to use the options settings here of the connect. I'm going to connect, and using the menu here, I'm going to connect twice, and I can move them or pinch them. So that's pinch, where it goes in and out, move left to right. I want to pinch them and move them along to the edge. We're about to, let's say 75. And what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to turn around the side here, and I'm going to OK that, or else that won't be selected. I'm going to select these, and once again I'm going to connect them, and it will keep the same settings as last time, so those will be 75 as well. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drag out the legs underneath all together, and we're going to extrude them. Actually, we're going to use the extrude option from down here. Now sometimes selecting these can be a bit awkward. So for example, if I select that one, it's not selected on top, and let's select all of these ones around the edges. I've just shifted it there slightly, and none are selected on top. So with those, I see there's the movement there I made there. With those four selected, what we're going to do is we're going to press the extrude settings button, and out they all come. So let's make this say about 500 for the legs. So there's our extruded legs, and I need to OK that. In fact, let's make it exactly 500. I don't like the numbers when they aren't rounded. And I'm just going to OK that. Now we're going to make the back of the chair. So let me just select this, this, and this here. Remember to keep looking around it. All I'm doing is I'm using the middle mouse wheel to zoom in and out, and I'm holding down the Alt and the middle mouse wheel just to skim around and orbit the actual object I'm making. And I'm going to extrude these again, and there's the back. So that's pretty much the chair we made earlier on. Now from here, what we should do is we should try and make the chair look more organic, really, and more comfy and round, or something. This is, a very hard wooden chair here. In fact, actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to bring out the back, and I can do that manually as well, because I've still got that top edge sorted. I think 500 didn't look quite right. So there we go, I've just brought that up, and what I'm going to do is we're going to use a modifier from our modifiers list. So there's the standard primitives. When we start modifying a shape, we go to the modifiers, and from down here we're going to use something called Turbo Smooth, which will add a much bit more of a mesh to the actual shape, allowing us to edit more polygons and things. And I'm going to make it, that's far too many. You see how smooth the object becomes with the amount of things there, but if you drag and select that, you can do that as well. It becomes very much higher in the polygon count, and it can actually crash lower end PCs and things. So 3, I've always been told, well, I was told at a tutorial workshop I went to, that 3 is normally the maximum that you'll ever really need on most objects. Probably not if you're doing something, say a Pixar or some sort of like really high graphic piece, which you want to be super smooth, but 3 is generally fine. And if you can't see what's happening with your object as you're doing it, you'll notice here there's show end results on or off. You'll notice that it shows it. If I'm clicked on the editable poly, that is, though. If I go to Turbo Smooth, it comes on automatically. If I go down to editable poly, it will show me what's happening with the editable poly, but then I can add the Turbo Smooth to it, while showing the end results, actually. Because you don't always want to be editing with Turbo Smooth on, because if you've got a lot of objects going on, it could cause your PC to crash as well, or slow down and things like that. So I'm going to go down to the editable poly and show end results here. because to be honest, it's not, one object's not really going to hurt my PC that much. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try and make these legs not so pointy. I mean, it looks a bit odd at the moment. So actually, let's just turn that off so I can see what I'm doing. So from down here, I'm going to select all of the legs, and I make sure I've got the edge option, and I select the legs by clicking and dragging and selecting the legs. And I can see it with the end results on now, so I can see I've definitely got them selected. It's much harder to see that I've got them selected with the end results on. And then I want to connect them using the connect settings, and you can see again it's kept the same settings and made it 75 there from earlier. And in fact I can turn on the show end results, and now you can see it's actually rounding here much lower. In fact, let's bring that up and down a bit more. Let's make that 80. Oh, and I didn't actually apply it then, so let's look at that once more again. That's one of the things you've always got to do, and I do that sometimes. So I select them all again, and I connect them. Let's bring up the settings, and I'm going to OK that this time. Let's show them results, and there they are. So it's down at the bottom, you can see it's a lot more rounder, and our object's starting to get some shape. So let's turn off the results again, and from here I'm going to connect these. Let's turn on the end results, see what's happening there. And now our chair is starting to get to look a bit more comfortable, to be honest, actually. Let's bring it back a bit. That looks a lot better, and I'm going to OK that. Then let's do the back. So from the back, I'm going to select those and connect settings. And in fact, this time I'm just going to have one, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it to the top here, because I don't think I need one on that very back there, but that just adds a bit of roundness to it there. Okay, so let's zoom out a sec. Let's turn off that there, and we can see what our chair is starting to look like. And I think that's looking a lot better. Actually, maybe I've pinched it a bit too much at the top. We've got some flare out on the legs here and stuff. But that could be altered at some point. Right. You can also add different bits to the back here as well. So let's just make this a tiny bit more comfortable. So perhaps what we're going to do here is, if I go back to this view here and grab the edges, and I'm just going to press F4 so I can see what I'm doing, and grab these ones, and let's connect these. In fact, actually, I'm going to undo that because I want to bring up the settings, and I want to make let's go back a sec, let's now have one. I'm going to have 2 segments, but I'm going to bring them in a bit more here. 2 segments, bring them in and slide them slightly more to the middle there. So 0, bring them back to middle, and perhaps in a bit more. Here, okay. And I've shift selected all of the polygons. This is important, so I can select one, hold shift, and it will select them all around that way. And then I'm just going to bring it in there. So now our chair looks like this, and in fact from here I could just pull it out a bit and give it a bit more style that way. And that is our finished chair. If I just go back to the view from here, just spin around it, and let's go back to the turbo smooth at the top and turn off the wireframe. So there we have a much smoother chair. For sure you could definitely have the legs probably not so smooth at the top here, so you didn't have to have the line so close to the top. But I think that looks a lot more comfortable than our chair we had at the beginning. Obviously if you spent more time on this, you can make something really stylish and bring out sort of like the ends here and pinch them in and do something a lot more decorative. But that's our shape made out of our standard primitive, and basically using the extrude and turbo smoothing it to give it a nice finish. But remember, only use as much turbo smooth as you think you need. Don't go too crazy with it, because it will create the file size, it will cause your file size to be a lot larger. That's been the end of the tutorial. Thank you very much.